welcome to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danika Foley. With me, we have Kayla Marcantanio, who's the care pastor at Crossing Place Church in Bayou Vista. Now, you may remember her face. About a year ago, we were here talking about date night, a marriage conference. I think it's great that this is happening in our area. You typically hear about these type of date night conferences in bigger cities. This is the second time you guys are doing this. Thank you so much, first and foremost, for being here.
Oh yeah, thank you. I remember our interview from last year, and in so many ways it feels like it was 9 years ago because it was 2020, and then at the same time it feels like it was yesterday that I was here. So.
Girl, 2020 will have you like, where am I? Where am I? Who am I?
Yeah.
But speaking of who am I, right? I mean, this is, you mentioned it as an investment, the date night marriage conference. Kind of tell me about the whole idea of bringing date night marriage conference to this area.
Yeah, so the whole kind of way that it came about in a concept is this, that, prior to, me and my husband have been married for almost 8 years. Prior, like in our newlywed season, right, newlyweds are like up to 5 years, we were going on dates every few days, we work together anyway, but we were always together, and we would kind of like be a little bit snobby and be like, how do people not take dates? Don't they know they need to do that, right?
Right.
And then we had our first and only child. And so she's 2 now, but I do remember a season where it was easy when she was a newborn, and then all of a sudden the light bulb went off one day and we realized that it had been 6 to 8 months since we had went on a date. And all of a sudden we understood. We're like, wow, you get caught up so much in life that you actually forget about the relationship of why this family even started. And so the idea of date night marriage conference came around to provide an opportunity for whether they're married or not married, so dating, engaged, and married couples to literally take a date so that they can be poured into, take a breath, and just remind each other of why they're together and the choice that they made to be together.
And let's just be, let everyone know, like, oh, I'm not married, but you're in a serious relationship. If you're dating someone, if you're engaged, or if you are indeed married, or, you're at a point in your life where you're like, we need kind of a reset, right?
Yeah.
Or, I just want to hear what they have to say. They might, give us some information that might really help us, some things I've never thought about.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I want to talk about reviews because, we can sit here and say, oh, it's great, but tell me some of the reviews that you got last year and how were you guys able to tweak it?
Yeah, definitely. So we had almost 100 couples. I think it landed at like 97 couples last year that came, and we did send out a review or kind of like a survey to say, what did you love about it? What did you not like about it? And we even found out details about, what do you feel like you needed out of it that you didn't get? And so one of the biggest things that we got was, hey, we really want some practical hands-on advice or workshop type of things for the season that we're in. And so we added that this year. We also lessened sometimes on some other things that we felt like we're going a little longer. But long story short, we definitely received back that people enjoyed it, that it was a breath of fresh air. And we just tweaked our schedule based on that.
Okay. Now you're almost at 8 years. So that means you're kind of at that point where you're over the 7-year itch. They talk about the 7-year itch.
Yeah.
And also you're actually kind of I won't say veteran at this, but you have some knowledge, some wisdom that you can impart to folks who will be in attendance.
Yeah.
So you're actually going to be a facilitator.
Yes.
And what's your job?
Yeah, so I'm the care pastor at the church, and so basically anything that falls under providing care for like small groups, discipleship, counseling, preaching, prayer. There are a bunch of things that fall under the umbrella of what I do, but we also have marriage and family groups, which links to the marriage conference.
Awesome.
And so I'm just one of the pastors at the church, but I do have the opportunity to lead a team of people, and we help put this on at the church.
Okay, let's get to some of the breakout sessions because there are 2 types of sessions, right? There's a practical session and there's a fun session.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go through, we're going to start it off because we may end up going into commercial, but let's go ahead and start off with what are some of the subgroups to the breakout session number 1?
Yeah, so the first breakout session is that practical one. And so we actually did ask some people that were in attendance last year, hey, what were some of those things that you wanted practical advice on? The top 3 that we got are the ones that we added. We do have 4 on there. The first one was a money one. Money is one of the main reasons why people get divorced. Now, if you come to this session, it's not necessarily going to be like a help you build a budget type of thing, but it is going to help you to start the conversation. Most couples actually don't share a bank account and split bills. The money session helps you to get the conversation started. Then we have one that's for empty.
And we're going to talk about the remaining sessions, because you're right. Number one typically is financial.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you put that on there, because I think that's going to help a lot of people. I mean, especially now that we're going through COVID and all these different things, you have to find ways to balance, a budget. So we'll go into the other ones, but we'll take a short break. But come on back right here on the Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danika Foley. With me, we have Kayla Marcantanio, who's the care pastor with Crossing Place Church in Bayou Vista. They're having their date night marriage conference, which is coming up February 27th. If you are dating someone, or if you're engaged or married, you are invited to come, and it is free. Now, there are at least 2 sessions that do have a fee required, but we'll get to that shortly. So let's talk about the different, subcategories of those sessions. So we talked about money talks for rich or for poor. Number one reason many people get divorced is financial reasons. Before we get to that, I do want to address something you said earlier. Not just dealing with COVID, but divorce rates are on the rise. Yeah. Also, domestic abuse cases are also on the rise, because it's kind of a byproduct in a way of COVID. We're in this pandemic. We're more, many people are at home. You're not leaving. You're quarantining at home. You're in lockdown. And this was more something, you said the words, this is a reset for your marriage.
Yeah. We definitely want to encourage people to take that, to take the reset, because first of all, it is free. So meaning even at the baseline, everybody can come. And, we are kind of venturing into people going back to normal life. And so though there are still precautions with COVID, and though people can make decisions based on their health needs, if you're able to come, just take it as a reset, and especially with the finances. So many couples right now are probably saying, even if I wanted to go on a date, I probably couldn't. I probably couldn't even afford it. I couldn't afford a babysitter. I wouldn't even know where to take my significant other. But we're saying, well, we know where we want you to come. Yes. We've provided a way for you to come, and it really doesn't cost you anything. And so come have a reset, whether you are full of life in your relationship or you feel like you're on the rocks or anything in between.
And we'll talk about that fee for the other 2 sessions, and they're really pretty affordable for 2 people.
Yeah.
You could not do that if, people were actually going to do that on their own. If someone wanted to organize it, you would not pay the price that they're paying. So I think it's a pretty nominal fee. So back to session 1, you said some of the, number one is financial. So you added something else. What are some of the other categories?
Yeah. So that's one of the workshops that you can be a part of. The second one is about, we call it passion during parenthood. So, if you kind of viewed this in stages, money is one of the main reasons people get divorced, but then you also have where you move out of being newlyweds or at whatever time that is, and you move into being parents, right? And all of a sudden now you have this little person and these little people to take care of, and marriages almost lose their identity, where you become parents and no longer wife and husband, right?
Yes.
And so you got to keep that focus on the marriage, that you guys were together long before the kids were there, and you'll be together long after the kids are there. Yeah. And so we're going to hear if anyone in those groups to be able to keep the passion alive, keep the marriage intact and going and full of life, even while raising children. And then if you kind of go beyond that, right, to a little bit of later stages in life, we actually have a workshop for a breakout session for empty nesters. And so that may seem ridiculous or crazy, right? People at that age are probably saying, or at that stage of life, are probably saying, we've been married so long, we have this all together. At the same time, though, most people get divorces in their late 40s or 50s.
And that's most likely because they've married early. So during that time, when I say early, about maybe in your 20s, you're getting to know each other. And that's the fun part. But then once you're all done, you're just sitting there and you're like, who are you? Like, who am I?
Oh, nice to talk to you again.
my life was the kids. That's what I did. And it's like, now that they're gone, oh, So you have to date yourself, or date each other. You really do. You got to keep that going.
Yeah, you do. And so we're finding that a lot of people in that stage of life, or even just like the grief of your children not being there anymore, like almost over consumes you to where you're like, I have so much time, I don't even know what to do with it. And so we're going to have a session just on that. Now, we know that not everyone falls into those categories. Not everyone needs to talk about money. Not everyone has children, and definitely not everyone is an empty nester. And so we also have just a general session about the 5 love languages, learning your love language that anyone can join.
And I definitely want to talk about that a little bit more. Let's talk about that because there's a book out there about the 5 love languages. And we'll talk, can we talk about them?
Oh yeah,
a little bit?
For sure.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about them when we come back. Come on, right here on KWBJ for the Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, I am your host, Danika Foley. With me, we have Kayla Marcantanio, who is the care pastor at Crossing Place in Bayou Vista. Now, we're talking about the love languages, and I know some folks may not know what it is. So let's kind of explain it in a way that will help them understand what love languages is.
Yeah, for sure. So listen, it's not a concept that we came up with. There is a book called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And he presents this information that we're going to present in the breakout session. But basically, here's all people need to know just to be interested, is that a lot of times we as couples are trying to communicate. And we're trying to even say, I love you sometimes, but it doesn't come across I love you because we're speaking it differently. So like if I'm thinking about me and my husband, it would be as if I'm speaking Spanish and he's speaking German, and we're both saying I love you, but we're angry with each other because all we hear is noise on the other end. And so basically the answer is to learn the other person's language, and that's how you're then able to communicate. So we're going to teach people how to learn the love language.
I love it. I love it. They're all pretty interesting. And that's just breakout session number 1.
Yeah.
So that's the practical side, right?
Yeah, that's the practical side.
Now let's get to the fun side.
Yeah.
Let's talk about breakout session number 2 in the workshop. There is a trivia night.
Yep.
Yes, who doesn't like a little trivia night? Now, this is not, are you smarter than a 5th grader, right? This is about yourself, about your partner, right?
Actually, because it is a fun thing, it's just fun questions. So
really?
It's definitely like Trivial Pursuit type of thing. We promise we didn't make them too hard. We have some fun Louisiana questions in there. So if you know some stuff about Louisiana, that'll be in there. Pop culture questions, movies questions, Saints questions, football questions. So we threw a lot of just collaboration into that. We kind of like just Trivial Pursuit, right? A bunch of different stuff. But honestly, it's going to be stuff that some people know. Some people will be stumped, but it's going to be a lot of fun guessing regardless. If you got every answer wrong, you may not win anything, but you'd still have a ton of fun.
Right. Okay. And I think people are pretty competitive.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if someone decides to go, are they going to be with their partner?
Yeah.
Or are they going to be, so it's not like guys against girls or anything like that?
No. So they'll be like your couple as whether you're dating, married, whatever, like you will be a team and you're competing against all the other teams. And we do have prizes that were donated by people in the community. So there is an incentive. So, maybe even you need to study everything ever in the history of ever. Just do it before date night. You'll win.
Hey, hopefully you guys have been watching Quiz Bowl. We do Quiz Bowl over here, and sometimes those questions are a little tough, so maybe get some of those answers. And we do a lot of local and Louisiana history questions over here, so I'm going to see if I can kind of get some of those questions and answers. Then there's also a workshop for wood workshop.
Yeah. So it's not woodworking. So if anyone's familiar with the local business Southern Grace, they just offered. Grace actually just opened the market that's in Morgan City that's doing so well. Grace is actually going to be coming and doing a breakout session where they can do painting a wood sign together. So if you've ever seen the cute signs that someone hangs on their door, it has the last name, it has the year they were established. They'll actually get to paint that together. That particular session is only $18, which, by the way, that's how much you would pay at minimum just for one of her signs.
That's it.
So you actually get to do this together and take it home. And then we're bringing back the most popular session from last year, which was a Cajun dancing class. That was everybody's favorite. Cal and Lou Corville, they are with Dance Cajun in Lafayette, Louisiana. They had so much fun. They said, please ask us to come back.
Awesome.
That was everyone's favorite session. And so we brought them back as well. And you can actually take a Cajun dancing class for just $12.
That's not bad at all. For 2 people?
For 2 people.
Yes.
Yeah, not per person, for both
Right.
people.
So this starts at 3 o'clock. It
Yeah.
ends at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the whole day it's just going to be, I think you're saying practical, but I think it's going to be fun as well.
It is fun.
I think, you'll have some, ladies looking at, kind of nudging their husbands and some husbands looking at their wives or boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other. So we have just one more segment to go because I want to talk. Actually, there's one part we actually missed and I want to hear more about that. So come on back right here on the Voice of the Coast, right here on KWBJ TV 22. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, I'm your host, Danika Foley, Kayla Marcantanio, who is the care pastor at Crossing Place Church in Bayou Vista. We're talking date night marriage conference. Now, you hear the word marriage in the title, but if you are dating someone, if you're engaged, or also if you're married, please come on out. It is free to register. Now, there are at least 2 activities that require a fee, but they're a nominal fee. Is it $15 or $12?
Yeah, one's 12, one's
12.
18, and it covers
Yes.
the couple, not per person.
Yes,
Yeah.
so great. I mean, that's any date night does not cost that much. So
Yeah.
definitely do it. And let's say something about people who are dating.
Yeah.
Sorry, gotta say this. Now, if you've been dating for a month, okay, I don't think this is for them, right?
I mean, I would say now listen, I knew I was marrying my husband after 3 days.
What?
So I knew
Okay.
it, totally knew it. We didn't say that to each other, but I knew it.
Aw.
So, if it just so happens that you're already having those conversations, maybe come out. But yeah, if you don't know where this is going, you probably don't want to set up their expectation.
Right.
Hey, you may not want to run them off by coming.
Okay. Okay, so it's just pretty much the conversation where you are within that relationship.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. Okay. So let's also talk about a portion of this that we did not get a chance to talk about.
Yeah.
And tell me more. Just go ahead and explain it to us.
Yeah, basically, so the main session, we're going to have Scott and Cara Holmes, which when you hear those names, no one around here knows those names. That's okay. There's some leaders in a network of churches that we're a part of, but here's what's important of why you want to come hear them talk. They've been married well over 20 years. That's not just the important part because a lot of people have been, but in those years, they spent time in the Marshall Islands as missionaries. They went over to Russia to church plant. They also were pastors in Shreveport, Louisiana, and they did all of this. Like, again, Marshall Islands, Russia, Shreveport, with 2 children. And so no one has a perfect marriage, but they navigated all of this stuff and they are still together and they are still going strong. And so their story, I believe, has a lot to bring to people's lives. At the same time, they're going to talk to us about how to fight fair. Arguments are going to come up. Personally, I tell people if you have never argued or had a disagreement, that's a red flag in your relationship.
Okay.
It's not. A lot of people brag about this stuff. We've
Yeah.
never argued. We've never disagreed. Actually, to me, that's a sign that someone's not saying something because you
That's
never
it.
get along with everyone. They're going to teach us how to fight fairly, how to honor one another, serve one another. Hey, you're going to have disagreements, but how do you do it the right way?
Right. I think that alone is great. So, I mean, just a fun day all along. I mean, free?
Yeah, and refreshments. So that's actually, even if you come and, for the free baseline, no additional fees, we're actually going to have, I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag. Bluebell was a sponsor, so you can guess what is going to be there. We also had G&J, they are a sponsor, and they provided some awesome snacks for us throughout the day, including drinks and coffee, things like that. And Black Kettle was involved as well. They're in Patterson, and so we will definitely, we would say eat before you get there, but you will have a chance to eat while you're there. Yep. And then we encourage people to go on a dinner date afterwards. That don't just end it at 7. Plan to go somewhere, debrief, hang out, spend a little more time together, soak it in, and just plan to go somewhere on a dinner date afterwards. You'll be fine in the middle, in between.
That's right. And if you have someone who's who's babysitting the kids, say just a little longer.
Just a little more longer.
Yeah.
Even if it's I'm eating McDonald's in the parking lot, just a little
There you
bit
go.
longer.
Awesome. Now, have you heard or taught, I know you've done this before. This is now the second time, and you want to make this an annual event. Anyone ever tell you, you saved my marriage or you saved my relationship?
Yeah, we haven't heard that necessarily. And we talked about this a little earlier. A lot of times when someone gets to that point, it takes the hand of God, literally Lord speaking to them to change their minds. I've never heard that, but here's what I have heard. We've heard so many people say, man, my eyes were not where they needed to be. I was distracted. I was thinking in a wrong way. And you changed my mind about this. You reset it. You reminded me about what really matters, what's important, why we decided to do this. And to me, that's just as important as saving a marriage because it helps them to not even get to that point.
Last question. What's the secret to marriage in 30 seconds?
Communication. We talked about that a little earlier. Just never get to a point where you're not talking about something and never let something never not be on the table to talk about.
All right. That's going to do it here. Thank you so much for coming back. Look, we'll see you. If not before, you can call me if there's something else going on.
Yeah.
But we'll see you guys next year. And thank you guys for sticking around with us as well. Also, if you're just joining us for the very first time, if not, make sure to subscribe to us on Facebook. We are KWBJ TV 22.